Hello and welcome back to the Talking Wednesday podcast. This time it's for episode 193 and it's been a bit of a day. I'm back this week. I left the children in charge last week and they seemed to do a good job. Yeah, you did seem to do a good job. So it's good to be back. I've said for too many times at the start of this podcast. We're coming straight off the back of the Watford game. It's not ideal. But we'll go into that in due time when it's in its rightful place in the podcast, and I'm sure we'll have a lot to say. But I'm going to start this week, as I always do, Punk. It's just you and me today. How has your week been, my friend?
Long and tiring. It's been half term, so I've had both kids, and the word eye-opener comes to mind because I've got a nearly 1-year-old walking, and I've got a sassy nearly 7-year-old, and they don't vibe. They don't vibe well at all. It's
what, together?
Oh yeah, together.
Oh dear.
Yeah, together. And they don't vibe. And our lass has done 2 days in the office and then the rest at home. So I've been like properly on my own. But it doesn't help. I've been having new tablets that I've been trying to get used to again. So I've had that on top. But it's been naff in that sense. But in trying to just get stuff done, we did our first load of Christmas and birthday shopping today because we need to get on with it because it's not going to be long before it's going to be that time of year again, and I'm going to be like, no.
It's already November. We're already there.
I know. I've already got the world's darkest sunglasses for when I leave my studio. Look at that. That's insane.
Yeah, because they're obviously going to be building out back as well, aren't they? So there might be lights for a while.
Hey, well, it's not the lights, it's the fireworks over this weekend. It's bonfire night, technically, this weekend.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's technically bonfire night, so you've got all that to happen, which will probably happen this weekend, and then the following weekend, and then Tuesday night.
I mean, it could happen now, actually, thinking about it, when we're doing this pod.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's fun.
It's just not ideal. It's not ideal. It's just been one of those ones where I'm looking forward to getting things done. Play Call of Duty, Black Ops 6, like it a lot.
Yeah,
I think
same.
It's decent.
Yeah, same.
Enjoying it. Tried a bit of zombies.
What are you doing after this pod? Oh, you got it on PlayStation, haven't you?
No, I haven't. I've got it on Xbox.
What are you doing after this pod?
I don't know yet. Why? You want to do some zombies?
No, me and my mate are jumping on it after this pod, so there
might
join
be
a shout there if we got you in. We'll see.
Yeah.
Are you any good, Jake?
No. Oh.
What is it with you swearing? You did it on the last podcast. You just give me an edit like 3 minutes into this one.
Tired.
You're not very good at Call of Duty is what you were saying, I believe.
Yes, it was. I'm not the best. I'm better on PlayStation. I will be honest with you. I'm better on PlayStation. I don't get on. Everyone's always got on with the Xbox controllers. I never have. I've got an Elite now, so finally I'm like, I get it. I get why people get them because I'm really so bad. Handy.
Well, that's the thing. It's the trigger, actually, not the extra buttons. It's the fact that, like, when I shoot, I tend to get excited, and and my recoil's all over the shop, so I'm not as efficient as I could be. But what I do is I have the aim button fully down, but I lock the trigger button just to a very light tap, so that way I don't end up moving the controller when I pull the trigger, basically. So I'm much more efficient.
Like playing FPS games, they are very handy, especially if you remap your analog button to the back as well. Just because your sprint button, because you will kill. People will. The problem with the Xbox controller, it's stick drift is more apparent on them than it is on the PlayStation controller. It's just a fact. I've never had an issue on a PlayStation controller, and I've used them like all the time. Xbox, I've gone through so many. But could be I'm just a little bit hard wearing on my Xbox stuff. I don't know. It just I liked it. It's been fun. It's just I'm looking forward to I'm going next week or the week after. I think it's actually the week after I'm going to be fully into Farm Sim, so I'm going to be gone because the new one's out. Because I love my Farm Simulators. Have we said on this show before? I'm a sad old man. How's your week been, mate?
Up and down. There's a lot going on at the minute, but I did get a break at the start of the week, which was good. We ended up going on a trip because my family couldn't go, so I wasn't originally planning this, but they said, "Hey, do you want to go to Wales for 3 days? We've just got this little trip that we were looking at," and I was like, "Yes." So me and Soph went down. We went to we went to explore some like historic caves, which were a lot more interesting than it sounds when you say this. We went to like where they filmed The Dark Knight, Bat Cave and stuff like that in Wales, like the waterfalls and stuff. And we just went on a load of walks and that sort of thing. And it was a nice few days. It was good to get away, just have a little break, different part of, well, obviously it's a different country, but different part of the UK. I've not been to Wales since I was younger. I think the last time we went to Cardiff when I was like 16, 17 maybe.
That's been a very long time.
Shut up, you. It's not that long.
I can't.
A decade, all right. But we're not that. We're getting older. But yeah, it's been at least a decade since I've been to Wales. At least maybe plus 2 years.
One trip I think you and Soph would love is doing like the Isle of Skye. Going up that way.
There's a lot. Like I want to. We did Scotland. We did a really nice part of Scotland. I want to do the Isles up the top. I've always said I wanted to do quite a while in Italy. Yeah. I've got a month off from work whenever I want it now. Weirdly. Is
it kind of one of those things you're just gonna pick a month, take it, and then you're just gonna travel?
Yeah. Well, that's the thought. That's the thought. And my gap, oh God, I was watching Bake Off the other day and there's just this guy and I'm sure he's nice, but it was just the typical, we saw him, me and Soph, and we were talking about, we just heard a bit of his background and we were like, absolutely trust fund kid. And then he started talking about his gap year and I was like, oh, I knew it.
Called it immediately.
Immediately. It's just, I've known so many and some are lovely, some are... Yeah.
I look at you, a holiday destination, I always think you love is like Helsinki. Or the North.
We like the obscure places and not just to be different, just to go and see things. It's like there's loads in this country. I didn't go on a plane until I met Soph. I've been abroad, but ferried over to France. But it was a case of like I'd not really gone beyond, but there's a lot in this country if you're willing to look. And unfortunately, a lot of people since the pandemic have decided to do that and everything's gone up. It's just the way it is.
Yeah. If I see a lot,
that was nice.
If I see a lot of Americans don't travel abroad because America's so big, you can just go to a different state. Yeah.
Well, yeah, there's going to be an election in there as well in the next few days, so that's going to be interesting how it all pans out there. But yeah, no, it's been an all right week. I am starting some new work on Monday with a new organisation that I've just agreed to start working with. So
nice.
We'll see how that goes. But it's sort of one of those things where I needed to take on some extra work, so I'm taking an extra day, but I'm going nowhere near what I did a year and a half ago, which was not fun. Even a year ago, I was doing it this time last year.
I'll be honest with you, that just didn't do your mental health and your physical health any good.
My physical health just went through the floor, mate. That's part of the reason. Like my mental health, I've always been able to sustain that. Because if you think about it, like if I got offered a tour and I went on a tour, I'd do a tour and I'd burn myself out happily for it. So mentally, I've not had that problem. It was just physically, I was like, this is getting a bit annoying now because physically I wasn't doing great. But now, getting much more of a balance, which is good. Anyway, we'll talk about this game before we talk about the other one. We're also introducing something for the podcast that's not for the podcast, really. It's just, when we talk about the game that's just happened, because we film this very close to the game now, most weeks, we're basically going to clip out. We used to do shorts. We might still do shorts, but we used to clip out like match reactions.
Especially now shorts have gone to 3 minutes.
Yeah, but basically what I'm going to do now is I'm going to clip out a short video before the podcast comes out of the reaction to the match that's just happened. So when we talk about Watford, it might seem a little bit weirdly structured for long-time listeners and viewers of the podcast, but just bear with us. It's all about working the algorithm, basically, and trying to grow the podcast. So it's something we're going to do. But yes, before we do that, let's talk about Brentford in midweek. Obviously, you were streaming this one, Jake.
I was.
It was a lot more interesting than I thought it was going to be.
I think we gave a very good account of ourselves, especially when you look at, we had a couple of youth team players in there as well, Gab and Sean, who really played well. And I think the goal they scored was just really unlucky. It was good keeping by Pierce Charles originally. And if it doesn't bounce off Gab, it probably go past him and they probably don't score that goal. And
do you think he parries it too much? I watched Pierce Charles and I think he's a really good keeper. He gets in the right position, but it reminds me, it's just the parries. I'm like, catch the ball.
I think both James and Pierce parry too much. It's a curse of modern day goalkeeping, and I absolutely
I think that's
hate it.
To be honest,
you don't see many keepers come out the box and claim and try and catch it. They all go for the pick for Superman punch, clear it possible.
Well, Pierce Charles is about the same height as Pickford, so I'd understand that, to be fair.
Yeah. He did.
He's not going to tower over people.
There were some really good saves he made in that game, in that first half alone, and kept us in it. And I don't like it when we play him, James. The more people see him, the more people know about him. I don't want that. I want people to just go, oh, you got a goalkeeper in your academy. Okay.
Yeah, but I look at it this way. We're in a good position in terms of the goalkeeper because I think Brighton either decide to sell us Beadle because they realise he's not going to get in their first team anytime soon, so they just sell him. And we get Beadle, who I think is a very, very good keeper, and we lose Charles. Or Beadle goes back to Brighton and Pierce Charles is on number one. Either of those situations I'm completely cool with.
I think Charles is our number one next season, generally. That is my theory.
Financially, that makes more sense. Because you don't have to buy Beadle then.
Yeah, exactly. You got to half time, you're thinking, all right, we've not actually let ourselves down at all. Let's be honest with ourselves. We'd actually done well. We'd gone toe to toe and we looked decent. Second half came out, looked really well. Want to give a big shout out to someone we like in our parish, which is Big P. Captained the team, played outstandingly well. Adper. I think he should be in the first team a little bit more than he is at the minute. But Gassama's goal. What a goal. What a goal that was again.
And that one out.
Yeah, he just took it and saw the mistake. And the thing is, you saw the press come back. You saw this press that we've been talking about for so long work. And it was nice to see us have a midfield where we could have Charles and Bannon rested. And you're going into that game and you get to full time and it 1-1, you go, you know what? We've done so well against the Prem team, a very strong strength Prem team at that, because I believe their striker who were playing, there's talk that Newcastle and Arsenal are wanting for about 50 million in January. So that's the kind of level you're at. And you go to penalties. The only thing I have with penalties was all I was thinking, I want Cam Dawson in net for pens. Because he was such a good penalty.
We haven't had a keeper ever before or since like Cam Dawson on penalties in my opinion. As far as I can remember, he's just so good at penalties.
And Charles did try and go to some of them. And I thought when Palmer penalty was saved, I thought the reaction from the away end was fantastic. Just going, saying you're one of our own, giving the support they needed. I think some of the meltdown I saw on Twitter, it's dumb. Penalties. When something goes to penalties.
Honestly, I'm not saying this any detriment. I felt like when Palmer walked up to it, I just thought there's too much pressure on this, and he loves the club too much. He's going to miss. I've just got a feeling. And unfortunately, he did. Which, to be honest, it doesn't matter. I didn't see us winning this game. Honestly, it doesn't matter. I'm sure it was bad at the time, but he got up, he took one. The keeper went the right way, and he misses. I'll
tell you something. I love Johnson penalty, left foot ping, top corner.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah. Marvin Johnson is a very good player. Like
Marvin Johnson is just putting man of the map performances at the minute, week in, week out. And it's so good to see. I just want someone on the other side that can do it.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. Masaba's inconsistency. Gassama's great, but he tends to play on the left. So it's just.
I will say something. First half, Masaba absolutely annoyed the hell out of me again, because he had a bit in the first half where he got past one player and then he went to go past two and he couldn't figure out what to do because he'd done too much. I think Masaba needs to run and cross. I think he does a little bit way too much trying to beat him man to the sector to get into the box, where just getting it into the box with a cross would be ideal and then you're sorted.
Yeah, it's getting more frustrating when results don't go our way. But yeah, they dominated possession 70-30, but it didn't show really. I think that second half especially, we were very, very good. Which is the opposite for... Right, a bit different on this channel. We're going to talk through Watford. We might be a little bit more structured, but here's our reaction to Sheffield Wednesday 2, Watford 6. So, Jake, initially what we're going to do here is we're just going to talk through the game like we usually do, but then we're going to break it down a little bit more. So, talk through what we saw at Hillsborough against Watford.
It's the story of older time at Sheffield Wednesday. One good half, one very bad half. First half, we attacked them. We had lots of corners. We tried to get at them. We were knocking the ball round really well. We were getting into little pockets, little flick on, trying to get going. The goal they scored was really bad by us for just falling asleep. Basically, they took it quickly. Yeah, the first one. The first one fell asleep. They took it to a byline. It's a good crossing. Someone gets on, sticks it in. What you want.
It was almost as if we were thinking, that's gone out, that.
Yeah, because everyone stood still. Everyone stood still. Like they were waiting for the referee's whistle. And it's like the rule of thumb, don't wait for the whistle. Just play until you hear it. And it was gutting because we played really, really well up until that point. They didn't deserve to be 1-0 up. And
I will say, even at that point, you think, okay, we can get back into this. We've got back from things behind. And we seem to go along that lines with Michael Smith, obviously, which...
Really good crossing by Johnson again. Cross comes in, really good by Johnson. And the thing that I liked about it was the fact that he kind of mishit it, but he didn't have much power on it because the goalkeeper's already going the other side. And really good goal, you get back in it. I will say the referee was... up and down. He was not inconsistent. 1 minute he'd give a card for a yellow to them, but if we did something similar, didn't do the same, or if there's a foul that was similar, there was a foul to them but not to us. There was a couple of times in the first half where Johnson was getting pulled around left, right, and centre and didn't get anything. And the thing is, that kind of thing annoys me when that happens. You're thinking at the first half, you're going into that period of hard time going, we have played really well. Get another half. Because
if you look at how it starts as well, Wednesday. So if we actually break it down a little bit more to how the game started, would you say Wednesday were on top? We were the better side.
Yeah,
maybe for the first half, generally until the goal, obviously. But even after that, I feel like we picked up.
We got back on it, and we were more of the same again. And you're thinking, right, at half time, it's got to be more of the same. Keep it up, keep going. For some reason, when our team hears that, they get complacent. So
that's where I want to talk about it next, really. Where did it go wrong? And for me, it's screaming. I don't think Danny Rule went in at half time, right? And went, just concede 5.
No.
That's fine. That's obviously not what he did. But do you think it's more of a conversation that happened where the team felt like... Because if you're a player and you go in, that after that half, you think, we're well in this. We just need to do what we're doing and it'll come in the second half, or maybe ramp it up a little bit in the second half. Do you feel like maybe something like that occurred and then the complacency kicks in? Or what are we feeling with that?
I feel like Daniel has said, do more of the same, but try and get a bit more forward so we can push on. And they just came out the traps a little bit faster than us. It's like we were still quite asleep. And we do have this in second halves when we've had a really good first half. We either have a first half where we're asleep and then we wake up in the second half, or we have a first half where we're really good and second half we're just complacent. You look at the pen they get. It's a pen. His arm's in an unnatural position. He's going out. He's trying to stop it. I don't kind of get it. I've got no arguments on the pens that we got given, because if that happened to say wind after the other way, what I offered doing, we're screaming for one the other end. Like, we're screaming for it because it's soft, because he leans on it a little bit, but you're still calling for it.
That's the second one though, isn't it? Wasn't it a handball first?
It was a handball first, yeah. That's what I was saying with Deshaun.
Because that's the thing. That's the thing to mention in this game. There was 2 penalties. So Wednesday haven't had a penalty since the playoff, apart from the penalty shootout, obviously, which just comes with the Carabao Cup. When you think about actually in-game penalties, Wednesday haven't had one since the playoff semi-finals.
It's kind of ironic that this happened at our place when we haven't had a penalty all season.
Yeah. Well, it's 2 seasons now, isn't it?
Really? Yeah, 2 seasons. Yeah, 2 seasons. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is,
and the thing is,
crazy.
If you look at the Iorfa one, Iorfa trying to track back because we pushed everyone forward to try and make something. And I think that's where the collapse happened. Danny very much have got that attacking mindset. We just keep going and we try and attack to get something. And I think there's a part of me that everyone knows that I like Danny. I like his style of football. I think it works. But there's a part of me when things like that happen, I just want a defensive idea to say, how about we sit some back and let some go forward? Because we always try and bomb everyone forward, and then it opens up gaps. And all the other goals. Do you know, if
I was looking at the point, the point I made at halftime of where it went wrong, I think Watford capitalised on the fact of how we were playing, and they went direct, and in the second half we couldn't deal with it.
Yeah.
I felt like that's where you've got to give Danny a little bit there of sort of like, we've got to be set up to play against teams that are going to come at us direct, because I'm not slagging Watford off, but I think we'd all say they're not the Watford that they once were. And today, like, when you're getting done by a long ball and it's very direct play, that's just poor. So that second half,
it's not the first time though. If you look at Luton,
no, it's not.
They went direct.
But and I feel like that's where the snap was. When they went direct, that's where it went wrong. And we've seen the other side of it. So if we were to look at like who were the standouts, obviously one of theirs got a hat-trick. Did we have anybody that was standout terrible, standout half decent, standout good even? I don't think, can you say anyone was good in a 6-2 defeat?
Johnson kept on going and trying to get balls into the box. He kept on trying to make things work and stuff. I think when a game like this happens, Barry good when it's going right, but when he's having to chase it and it's gone down, he zones out. He's not there. I think Beadle, some of the goal, he could have done better on the goalkeeping, but again, I'm not a professional goalkeeper. That's me from what I see. There's only so much you can do in the moment, if that makes sense. But if you're having to do ratings, it's a weird one because you've got a lot of 6s and 7s and possibly 8s in the first half. And then they all disappear to 5, maybe 2s and 3s.
I'd say 2s and 3. Like, the second half was just, our defence went to sleep, mate. And that was the standout for me. Like, Famio gets injured last game. I don't think that happens today because we started to settle.
No, it doesn't.
And I think I don't think Bernard is as comfortable playing where he's playing in the defence. I think he's better in a 3.
He's better where Iorfa is. And if I was Danny, I would have put Max Lowe in like he did versus Brentford. I think he made a mistake by putting him
Valerie. Valerie can play centre-back.
He's not the
Valentin. He's not, but I think the 3 would have worked better here. And I think that's the compromise you make.
But here's my bit where I counter that going.
That's fine.
Is Danny going, I've got a 2-game week. I don't have the cover. If another one of these gets injured, I'm screwed.
points on the board, though, isn't it? Because this is where this actually leads into my next question. Because how does it line us up for our next match? You know, do we go to the 3? Do we? We've got a midweek game, and then we've got a derby at the weekend. Where does this set us up? How do you think we attack our next game?
Honestly, I think he'll set them up the same way as the first half. But if we go down, he needs to have a plan B. He needs to go not ultra defensive, but go how we do away from home. Because when we're away from home recently, we've been really good at being able to be quite defensively solid. And I know that had been with an Akin, but there have been games where Akin's been dropped just to give him a rest.
But Watford's away record was pretty poor coming into this as well, which makes it even worse, poor. Jake. Yeah,
but the thing is, we all saw this coming, though. Come on. How many of us saw they had a poor away record and went, well, that's their win?
I don't know, though, because if you look at obviously the Portsmouth result, we've shown we can come back from things, and I didn't see the capitulation coming today. We obviously face Norwich next, and then we've got United. It's the most awkward time to have a result like this. And to be honest, I hate to use the word, Jake, but it's embarrassing. Those players should be embarrassed what they've done today.
The thing is, this isn't the first time we've seen this from a Danny Röhl side, though, where he's gone ultra attacking and then we've been battered. You think of Huddersfield, you think of those kind of games.
He needs to be smarter then, because in the second half you can't get done by the direct. Yeah. I'm not having a pop at Danny here, but I'm like, again, as a learning manager, in the second half, if a team's coming at you direct, we know how to deal with direct teams. Case in point, think Millwall last year when we changed the side up. Today, it's almost as if we went, we'll just keep doing what we're doing. And yes, I'll be honest, the penalties just killed momentum. But after that, they got their goals from direct play.
Apart from
long balls over the defence, it's not ideal. It's not something that should be happening.
Here's the thing. We either go ahead and then concede, or we have to concede before we get going. Apart from Plymouth, we've not had a game where we're able to keep it going. Like, if you look at the last, Coventry had to come from behind. Pompey had to come from behind. There's a habit getting in there. There's a habit of having to be the team that concedes first before we show up.
Before we talk more about the Watford game, and check out the full podcast if you are watching this as a clip, the podcast will be out tomorrow when you are seeing this. Before we talk more about the Watford and break things down a little bit more, the last question I've got, Jake, is, was the result deserved? If you look at the whole picture, because in the first half you'd think no. You'd think, we don't deserve to be even level at that point. But on the whole of it, can you really say that you can't deserve a 6-2 battering? Because in my opinion, I'll give mine first, it was of course deserved. You can't have a shambolic defence like that and not say it was a deserved result.
It's a difficult one because, again, this is the problem when you have two different halves of football. If you're looking at the whole game, no. From 90 minutes, no. Because in that first half, we were good. But that second half, we collapsed. So if you're only looking at 45 minutes of football, we 100% deserve it. And that's do you know what I mean? It's difficult to say.
I think the point I want to leave that on for this part anyway is, I personally think that you can't have a half like that. I won't lie.
Watford took the chances. Watford took the chances, and that's what we didn't do.
Yeah.
And if you're going on chances, they took the chances, 100% they deserve it. And again, that's something what we are struggling with.
I don't think that was necessarily our problem today, though. But yeah, let us know what you think on the whole game and the embarrassment, air quotes, in the comments below. But Jake, let's talk about that a little bit more then. So the actual, what you were saying there about you don't think... Sorry, finish what you were saying before I cut you off.
If you're looking at deserved, you look at a whole game of football, right? Because it's a 90-minute game. If you're looking at a 90-minute game, it's one of those ones, one team did really well and one team did well the other half. If you look at 45 minutes each, First half, great. Second half, collapse. The problem is, we've had the collapse before. And we'd always...
I was at your house during one.
Pardon?
I was at your house during one. I was sat there.
That was sick, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not the first time we've seen this from Danny, where this has happened. And once that second penalty goes in, or is at least given, he goes attacking subs. And I don't think that's the right call. I think your call is go make us more defensively solid.
I admire wanting to get back in the game, but I just think we needed to be a more direct side to combat the fact that they were going direct. We just didn't adapt well, and this one, unfortunately, in the second half is on Danny. But I can't say this forever, as much as I want to support the situation, but like he's got to learn from this. But also, we still fully don't have the players. We don't have the depth. Like, if you look at the fact that one injury can wipe us out defensively, it's not ideal, and it won't be ideal. Because if you look at possession, Watford had 51, we had 49. It was very close on that front. They had 14 shots to our 12, and we both had 6 shots on target. They scored
all 6.
So when you're looking at your chances created there, you're talking, that's just so bad, isn't it? Like, that's so bad.
You think about clinicalness and that's it.
But the thing that gets me is 6 chances created, most from the penalties, and then most of them are just lifted balls over the top. Basic.
And the thing
4-4-2.
But here's the thing, the lifted balls over the top is where you go. Danny, why are you pushing defenders to the halfway line and playing a high line? Just sit back. Do a Jose Mourinho classic and put everyone behind the ball and leave someone with a bit of pace up top.
It's difficult. I'm worried about this week now, Jake. I'm not going to lie.
God, yeah.
I'm very worried. I'm very worried about the derby. I'm streaming the derby.
I know you are.
I'm very worried.
Friday night, I did a roundup live stream, and I said I would have taken 4 points or so. Maybe, because I thought we'd get a win here. I thought we'd get 3-3 and draw versus Norwich going into the derby. I would have taken that, right? Now, I don't know where it goes, because the problem is, if we go into this and we're into then another international break, the last one we got this year before there's no more till March, and you're getting into the busy period where it's week in, week out, week in, week out. So you've got less time on the training pitch, which Danny likes. Yeah. Before this, I was looking like we could be in a good position after the international break on Friday. I now look at this going, I'm just happy there's certain teams below us who are worse than us, but that could change this week.
Let's get into the Championship review. Luton Town 1, West Brom 1, Stoke City 2, Derby County 1, Oxford 1, Swansea 2, Blackburn 0, Sheffield United 2, Leeds 3, Plymouth 0, Hull 1, Portsmouth 1, QPR 0, Sunderland 0.
Good point.
Preston 1. Yeah, good result. Sunderland had a sending off. Preston 1, Bristol City 3, Cardiff 2, Norwich 1, Wednesday 2, Watford 6, Middlesbrough 0, Coventry 3. And by the time even you're watching this podcast, Millwall Burnley hasn't happened yet if you're watching it when it's released. Sunderland are the top of the league with 29 points. Behind them is Leeds United with 26. Wednesday sitting 18th on 15 points. We've got a -9 goal difference, which could be a problem if it gets to the wire later on. We did not want to be having another -4 added to our goal difference today, but that's exactly what happened. Rock bottom are Portsmouth with 9 points, QPR just above them with 10, and Plymouth with 12. That puts Wednesday 3 points above the drop.
But here's the thing. If we had won this, we would have been on 18 points.
Yes, which would have put us in... It would have actually put us in 11th because of goal difference. Yeah. But in points, technically, if you discount a goal difference, which you obviously can't do, it would technically be joint 9th. So this league is still very open. So Danny, get the mistakes out now, please.
I think the point we have to make, and it go back to what you said. Why is it that one player in one position wrecks us?
Yeah. It's woeful. It's woeful. Right, let's get into the news. It doesn't get much better, Jake. This is from the Star. Sheffield Wednesday released statement on transfer embargo. Hang on. I swear we've done this before.
I'm sure we did this last year at the same time.
And quote, Sheffield Wednesday released a statement following the news they have been placed under a transfer embargo by the EFL. The news became clear on Thursday evening when it was published on the EFL reporting service website. The embargo has been put in place after a failure to satisfy a HMRC payment deadline in time. A year on from their last embargo episode over a similar infringement. Wednesday since confirmed the news to the Star and were invited to comment. A Sheffield Wednesday spokesperson said, and quote, Sheffield Wednesday can confirm a current EFL embargo, which we are seeking to resolve at the earliest possible opportunity. This is a temporary issue and a consequence of significant and as yet unpaid sums of money owed to the chairman, which in turn has impacted on the club's immediate cash flow. We expect the situation to be finalised imminently, at which point the embargo will be lifted, end quote. The Star is told that players and staff have been paid on time today and therefore the club are not under a threat of any sanction on that front. News of an embargo is not of any immediate material issue to Wednesday as they are outside a transfer window. Free agents can be signed to clubs outside of windows, though Owl's boss Danny Rule told reporters this week he was not in the market for signs of that nature. The news comes 12 months on from their last embargo and a year to the day from an interview with the Star in which Owl's chairman Deshvan Chansiri revealed he was concerned the club would be unable to pay players and staff in October 2023 wages on time amid what he described as, quote, cash flow issues, end quote. This same interview, Chansiri remarkably asked the club's supporters to raise £2 million within a few days to, quote, save their club, end quote. All payments were satisfied within 24 hours and the embargo was lifted. As of Thursday evening, Wednesday were one of two clubs operating under terms of an embargo along with League One Reading.
And as of right now, we are still embargo because I just checked.
Yes, so it's not been immediately resolved. Cash flow issues, bloody again. Cash flow issues. You are the owner of a football club that has to pay tax.
Or any business. Right, tax. Here's the thing. If there was a list of about 3 or 4 other clubs in the Championship who were still having this issue of like, oh yeah, it seems to be a problem in the thing. I can name 23 other owners in our league who doesn't do this. One of them is Sheffield United bloke who's trying to sell them. But
do you know what happens, Jake, in January if I decide that I'm going to just not pay my tax and I'll pay it later? It's not going to go well.
No.
Right? I don't like tax. I think most tax is spent unwisely. I'm not going to get political, but I don't like tax in general in a lot of ways. I don't think many people do. But it is a part of the society and it is a part of the routine, and you are the owner of a professional football club, just like my co-host here has said, that has had to pay tax for many times, which all the other clubs do, and on time. The second year in the row basically screams cash flow whenever this happens. What cash flow? What business deals?
Here's the thing.
Is this business deals? Is this family cutting off money? Is this family trickle down money? Why is it this time every year? Because to be honest, this is not sustainable. This can't happen.
Every year around October time, you have a bill that is for HMRC, and B, you have a cash flow issue. You make sure in September that you have the money to pay it on the 1st of October, not at the end. And this is the thing. He got to know this was coming. He'd been in the country last week because he did the photograph with Danny. and the players. He's been in the country, so he got to know this happen. To have it happen,
it is interesting.
Footballers,
is this different, Jake? Because you might know more. I don't know. Like, I can pay my tax in January, right? I can pay it from October for the previous year. But a football club's obliged to pay in October. Is that where this comes from?
I think we've had the thing is, I think we've had ours extended to the end of October. I think 9 times out of 10 it comes near September.
So it could be the year before.
Yeah. We don't know what year this is. And the thing is, every time he says something, he says it's a cash flow issue. I think Chansiri's heart's in the right place with owning club. But if every year there's a cash flow issue, surely that is telling you need either investment or you don't have the fund to run us properly. And that there's no harm in saying, I don't have the fund for this now. I'm sorry, I've tried my best. I'm going to have to put you up for sale. If I can't pay a bill, or if I have something that costing me too much money, you have to sell it and get rid of it.
Yep.
And the thing is, this is twice. Now, some people are going to go, yeah, but he put all this money into the club and stuff. That's called being a business owner. You don't have to put the money into the club. You can run a club on a shoestring budget and put a little as possible in. But the problem is, this is twice in 2 seasons. I had it on my video where people said, I don't know why you're making a song and dance about it because it'll get paid like last season. It's the fact that it's happened again. That's alarm bell for me.
To be honest, Jake, I didn't do a video on it because I was like, right, it's going to get paid. But in terms of talking about it, like, it's not a good precedent to be setting because it gets the EFL going, this club are trying to take a little bit, and you get a little bit more of that reputation, and then the scrutiny comes in, and then maybe things do happen. You know, the EFL change their minds on sanctions all the time. If he does this again next year, what's to stop the EFL going, right, you've done this 3 years in a row. That's a clear pattern violation of you breaching our rules. Here's a sanction.
Well, here's the thing for me. I've got that one. What if they suddenly change the rules that saying you can't do this? If you do this again and you're caught doing it, here's 20-point deduction, right?
Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's a big if. But
it's a big if. But here's the other one that no one's seeming to grasp. What happens the year that he's owed money and they go, I can't pay you? Then what happens? What happens the year when he's owed money and he doesn't get it?
Jake, but the thing is, though, it's a business deal, right? Okay, hopefully it is a big business cash flow thing, but for me, that's you're not getting your business sorted in time if people aren't paying your cash flow. Or is it a case of, is it family money trickling down? Is it all of that? You know, the Chansiri name is quite, big in terms of the market that they've had before. So it's more of a case of, if we're having this conversation again next year, Jake, it's time up, Chansiri.
Yeah.
Because, yes, we know, if you believe all the whispers going around, he's looking for investment. He wants investment in the club. I think he wants to become a stakeholder in Wednesday. If I was to make a guess,
a similar deal
Jake,
like they got at Man United.
That's exactly what I was thinking. He wants to do the Glazers thing where he's still there, but he's not. Yeah, he's not getting the firing line stuff, but it's still his club, and he can still say it's his club, and he can still have the privileges of it. Which, do you know what? Fine.
Fair play. Yeah.
It needs to happen though, and it needs to have the competence of a normal football club, which at the minute it's not. And then I said to you, because you obviously messaged me, and I went, Jake, I'm not even going to talk about it because my heart didn't sink like last time. It was completely predictable. I was like, we will pay it, but it's getting a little bit silly now, this sort of thing popping up, and it just makes us look amateur.
Also,
it's not acceptable.
Here's the other thing is, how much interest do you get put on a late payment?
Well, it's more of a case of if it's the HMRC, Rather than interest, it's fees. It's fines.
Okay. How much fees are we paying on top of that because we're paying late?
It's also, this is the thing, like, this is why I asked if you knew more about, is it a HMRC thing or an EFL thing?
No, this is a HMRC
The HMRC actually would accept the accounts up until January, then we don't owe anything extra.
No, this is a HMRC thing because it basically, you don't pay HMRC on time. The EFL go, well, you've not done what you meant to do in the rules of this land. You are meant to pay this by this date, so we are going to put this on. But the problem is, if football regulation comes in, like a lot of us want to see some of it come in, what does that do to him? Because surely something's going to get put in going, hey, you have to pay this on time or we're taking your football club away from you.
None of it's ideal. Let us know what you think about the embargo situation in the comments, and I'm sure we'll talk to you again in a year about it.
I'm making my video already for next year.
Yeah, I might do the same. We might do a podcast on it. Get it ready. This next story is from The Star. Sheffield Wednesday confirmed major injury blow. Quote, months out diagnosis, end quote. Exactly what we needed. I'll read into the article. Sheffield Wednesday are set to be without defender Akinfamio for the long term after the informed defender was subject to scans following an injury sustained at Portsmouth. The former Norwich City defender has started Wednesday's last 8 matches in the Championship, earning rave reviews for impressive performances on the left of their back three. I'm going to read the Danny Rule quote later in the article. No, it's not good, Rule told the Star following their penalty shootout exit from the Carabao Cup on Tuesday evening. We speak about months at the moment. It's a big one. Jake,
we tried to get a left-sided centre-back in on the last day of the transfer window.
We were screaming for it. We were like, "Where? We need another centre-back."
Yes. We had this worry, and I like you, I feel for him because he's had an excellent start to his campaign. And he keeps getting these injuries that then halt him. And the problem is I pray it doesn't stop the ability of us to give him a new contract. I know somebody will turn and say, yeah, but he's injury prone, get rid. This was a match in a match. This wasn't like a training ground thing. If it's in a match, it's different. If it's in training ground situations all the time, you kind of go, yeah, okay, you've got biscuit legs. But in this case, he's gone to kick the ball and he's gone. And like, now this means we got Kabachi out for 6 to 8 weeks. We don't know when Akin will be back. And Whitway just started being on the grass. It's a position we are not blessed with a lot of cover. Now, I thought Gab Odatungbay, I think that's how you say his name.
Is it Otabayo?
Otabayo, I don't know. I just call him Gab. You should have seen me trying to read out the Watford team lineup today. Oh dear God, that was a problem.
It's always fun, Jake. It's always endearing.
I literally got halfway through and said, yeah, I give up. It's on the screen. Read it. But here's the thing. We knew we needed another centre-back. The two positions we said, centre-back, striker, in the transfer window right near the end. More centre-back, we didn't have any cover. And again, I feel like we've done what we did last January where we let Joe Byers go to Blackpool on loan and then we tried to get Connor Washington, I think his name was. No, Coventry. That's it.
Coventry. I was going to say, I was looking in my brain for it, Jake. I couldn't find it.
Coventry, and he's like, he's been at the ground, he's ready to sign, and then he goes to Charlton. We just let a midfielder go and not get one in to replace him. We let Bambo go and don't replace him. Let's link that in then. We're talking about a centre-back. We're talking about a prime position. The next topic was actually going to be the youngsters coming in. Obviously, Charles, we've talked about a little bit at the start of the podcast. Let's talk about, have we got an answer there? Otegbayo, could he potentially step in? Otegbayo, I think, may have to step in. If you can do it against the fully fledged Premier League team, surely he can do it weekend in the Championship.
Yeah.
I think he's shown that he's got that character to go. My issue is Danny, because I'm really weird when I say, is he brave enough to do it?
Well, I get what you're saying in that, because in the fact is you've got a lot of responsibility as a manager, because when you're bringing a youngster in, their career is in your hands at the start a lot of the time. So it's a case of, if it goes well, they're in. If it doesn't, they've either got a lot of work to get back to it, or they're pretty much going to go down and down and down, and they're not going to make it properly.
Like, if you look at Sean's a really good midfielder. So if I don't want to say it, but touch wood, it doesn't happen. But say Charles goes back in Jan, can he fit back in? Now, the thing with Sean, user, I'll say this: get a new contract in front of him, because the talks of him getting a new deal, but I don't want it to be in another Liam Shaw situation.
Well, Fusire is currently in talks with Wednesday, obviously, about a new contract. There is that question mark over him, but for me, I think what I saw from Otegbayo, quite confident on the ball. And he's 20. It's not like we're throwing an 18-year-old kid in this. He's at the age where players can come in and step up.
Yeah.
I don't think we've got... I actually thought it was quite nice the way Iofa was talking to him throughout the Brentford game. If Famio's out, I'm not a manager, but for me, I'd try Iofa, Bernard, Otegbayo as our three while Famio's out. I'd play a three, and I'd play those three, because Otegbayo has then got support round him.
He has support, but I think the only leader out of them is that Iofa.
Which is fine, because he's playing.
But
what that does, Jake, in my opinion, is it brings Bernard back into where he can be strong. You can play him in that three on the side where he's strongest. Otegbayo can play a part and come into the team, and Iofa can be the vocal one in that back three. And then you've got your wing backs bombing off them. And I actually think that's a potential fix we've got there, because we talk about fixing it in January. Yes, we need to bring a centre back in January. It's very clear.
Definitely.
But it's early November. It's the start of November. There's a lot of games between now and then. I think we should try that, personally.
Right. Here's my caveat, and here's my big one. I don't think Iofa got the leg to do it week in, week out. With the injury record he's had, can we afford to have him play Tuesday, Saturday, when it's getting cold, and risk him pulling something?
Well, then what you do, my answer to that would be, you've got Valentin and Valerie. You interchange those two as the right wing back, right?
Possibly.
And on the days you don't play Iofa, you drop Valerie into the back three. On teams you think you're going to get out more, on teams you're not going to think you're going to need to be as defensively sound, you drop Valerie into that back three instead of Iofa. In teams you're really going to be up against it, you bring the leadership of Iofa in, but if you're going to rotate it, you then drop Valerie in.
That makes sense. He's also got the other thing. How much football will, say, Michael Whitway play when he's back?
Yeah, exactly.
Because there is that.
I think we need to do our masterstroke loan of what we've done in the past few seasons with Jordan Story, with Mark McGuinness. We need one of those centre-backs on loan. We need to sort that sort of centre-back out. But I actually think it could be a time for Oteg. But I was really impressed when I watched him against Brentford.
He was on the bench today.
Yeah.
So he was in that first team environment again.
Yeah,
and we're getting more and more youngsters step up, because if we've got an issue, say, with Kabashi and, say, Masaba constantly not doing what we want, like we've seen, Joey Poofy playing with the training with the first team at the minute. Throw him in. Make Masaba realise that his base is under threat by a youngster.
I think we're in a situation where we're really going to have to test that start of the season, talk about patience that everybody was preaching that we seem to have forgot. Danny is going to make mistakes. He's a new manager, but he's also going to get a lot right.
Say, what everyone's forgetting, this is his first full year in charge of a club with his own players, with his own coaching staff. He's not come halfway. This is his first time full with everything. And I think people are forgetting that because he came in halfway and think he'd done it all already.
And I think he's obviously now, this is his first time fully responsible for the squad. And if what we're hearing, like the murmurs coming out that we're going to be restricted to like loans and frees in January, it just screams like, well, how much backing has he had? I will say he's had enough backing in summer for me to be performing probably where we're at. I don't like some of the cricket scores, but in general, like what he brought in was enough to be a mid-table championship side for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
So that's where my expectation is. My expectation isn't higher than that, but it's definitely not lower than that. And I will bloody criticise him if we are going down, scrapping down by the relegation spaces. I will do that.
I think he'll criticise himself if we're in that because he doesn't expect us to be there.
No.
I think
he brought in, I looked at it and I went, do you know what? That is a side that can easily get mid-table. And do you know, if they're on it and everybody stays fit, they could make a push for something a little bit exciting.
Yeah.
That's why I thought we'd finish 8th. Because I thought we'd have an up and down season. Now I think we'll probably finish around where we are. Personally.
I think we'll finish around where we are, maybe a little bit more. Like the thing is, if you looked at us so far, we're actually performing like one of those teams where you get a lot of draws, the odd win here and there. It's just the Tonkins that are affecting us. We can't keep having the big ones like we did last season.
Yeah. But I want to see, I like the fact he's getting the youth involved in the squad. And we talk about youth. Let's get to our loan watch now. So we've got like Bailey Canamatri, our loan.
Oh, I forgot.
Obviously, when I was on 2 weeks. When I was talking to Jack 2 weeks ago, he was we'll talk about Malik Wilkes who scored. We'll talk about him after Bailey because Bailey's the key point. I've not spoke to you about this, Jake. Jack was adamant, do not recall Bailey, let him have the season. I was like, if he's scoring and we need goals, bring him back. Where do you sit on it?
I don't need to say where I sit on it because Danny's turned around and said he's staying out on loan. Danny this week has said he's staying out on loan, he's improving his development. The only way you bring Bailey back is if you get an injury up top. The problem is, I am worried that we bring him back and he doesn't play week in, week out then. He's sat on the bench.
That would be my worry, but I've also got to say, right, what's he on now for Lincoln? Because he must have a few. Because we're in November, right? And he is currently on, if this is to be believed when it loads, for Lincoln.
He is currently on 3 goals for Lincoln in 10 appearances.
I thought he was on more than that. He's on 4.
He may be
He's
on
got 4.
Actually, 4.
He's got 4. Yeah. 4 in 10, right?
Decent.
That's not bad.
We know he can score in the Championship. We've seen him do it already. I just worry that he's not going to be able to break through or try and get into that group of players who are here already, like a Smith who's currently leading the line, and also who would have thought we would be talking about Smith leading the line still, like he's doing at the minute. For me, Canamatri, I don't want to hamper his development by taking him out somewhere for just half a season.
No, but Ugbo has played and he's not, if I'm not wrong, Ugbo's not scored for us in the league.
No, he hasn't.
Scored for us in the cup, but not in the league.
Again, Danny's also turned around and said after the Brentford game, Masaba, Ugbo, and Gassama, they're not closer to each other. They're not. Whenever we play Ugbo, for whatever reason, people don't get close to him for the kind of thing. When we play Smith, they do. That immediate thing to go near him. With Ugbo, we don't do it, so he's isolated. And also, when we
Smith's
play Ugbo,
the starting attacking player at the minute, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's literally, he has to be.
He got to be. The thing is, I'd love to see an Ugbo-Smith partnership. I want to see a 2 up top, but Danny doesn't like that.
Would you bring Malik Wilkes back?
That all depends on...
Who's obviously scoring for Rotherham now.
It depends where you're playing him. If you play him on the wing,
I personally think you if we've got an option on him, you extend it and sell him.
Yeah.
Let him keep performing there and make money on him. I think this is where you actually try and entice some sort of... You want to get a bit of money off him, because if he can score at that level and he's going to score for Rotherham, I don't think he's going to cut it here. I think if we bring him back, he's going to stink the place out, to be honest.
I think your issue with that is how much money have Rotherham got to spend? What do we actually put him up as? If Rotherham want him, that is, by the way.
I'm not talking about Rotherham specifically. I'm talking about the fact that other players in League One are going to sniff around if he's scoring goals at that level.
Yeah. It's Wilkes. I've already kind of in my head, I've gone Wilkes' time at the club is probably done, which I'm kind of gutted for because he's only like 25. But some players work, some players don't, and it's not worked. And I think it's one of those ones where if you had a crystal ball and you could say, hey, all of these have worked, everyone would be able to get a transfer right 24/7.
Yeah. I think my gut is telling me leave them for now, but Cadamartri is a question mark, and I'm not going to rule it out in my head, because if we're still not scoring, and say you get to January and that 4 goals have gone to say 11 or 12, there is a bit where Danny may go, you know what, you're coming back. Yeah. Well, that's my thought process, especially if we are, because what I'm thinking is if we're hands tied with signings in January, that's a signing. I
will say on the hand tie thing with January, we only really ever get loans anyway in January. No one really ever buys players.
That's true. That is true, but it's also a case of like, we better cherry pick the best bloody loans like we did last season.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if it's bottom of the barrel loans, it's not going to be great.
The thing is, if we're say 15th, 14th, we'll have more players be able to come. That's why we couldn't get players in last season. They just saw the position and went, no.
But Jake, we're heading into a week where we've got Norwich and United. How are you feeling heading into it? Obviously, after this has not been ideal.
I'm a little bit worried after today. But there is something I do know about this squad. They have a reaction after bad results. They do tend to have a reaction after bad results. The Norwich game, don't play Bernard. He's 1 yellow away from suspension. But don't play him. Because you know for a fact he might get a yellow and then we don't have him for United. And I'm
not looking forward to that derby.
Yeah,
I know people love them, but I've always kind of hated them.
I love it because it's a derby, but as a fan, my inside do somersaults. Because I just can't handle that thingy. The whole watching it, because everything feels
I'm actually glad that I said I don't know if I'm glad I'm not going actually thinking about it, because I'm going to be on the internet streaming that. You're going to be sat behind the keyboard moderating my chat, probably crying.
I'm going to be sat in that chair rocking, going, why?
And obviously we're podcasting after it, so we're either going live. We've not decided whether we're going live or we're recording one, but we will be podcasting after it, so that's going to be an interesting day in general.
And then after I've done that with you, I've got to do a 72 review show.
Oh, of course you have.
At 6:30. And then on the Monday, I've got to do a debrief. And then I'm going to the hibernate.
Podcast will be out on that Sunday, by the way, whether it's out live straight after or it comes out in the evening on Sunday.
There will be something.
We'll just check for either of those. It will depend on whether we've pre-recorded or we've gone live. If we go live, obviously it's live. If it's pre-recorded, I will drop it Sunday, but it won't be at the usual 1 o'clock slot, obviously.
I'm going to speak to you about this off air. I'm not going to say it now, but I'll say it off air. I just had an idea for it, for the live thing, if we can do it.
Okay.
But the thing is, Sheffield United is that whole thing. It depends. We know they'll be up to Chris Wilder, but it'll be interesting to see how Danny takes. Danny's already seen that this is a big derby. We got to remember the last time we did the derby, it was like, oh, it's just another game from Carlos. We can't have that attitude. Was it Josh saying it was just another game? I thought it was Carlos.
I believe it was. I think the last time we played the derby was Joss.
Oh, it was, wasn't it? Because it was Cam Dawson had that penalty save.
Yeah. I believe it was Joss, because I remember I wasn't.
I will say
impressed.
Something. If Ryan Brewster and Barry Bannon tangle, that's going to be fun.
I don't look forward to it, but that is all I've got this week for the Talking Wednesday podcast. Jake, have you got anything to add before we wrap it?
Not really. Just let's just go into the week and see what happens.
Yeah, I think that's where we're all at. I'm gonna go and enjoy my evening to the extent that I can. But thank you guys for being supportive. We will see you next week when all of that has played out. Take care of yourselves until then, and we will see you in the next episode of Talking Wednesday.
See ya.